What's happening, Bills Mafia? Ryan Thomas back here live on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast for the Buffalo Bills post-game recap. The Buffalo Bills fall to 7-6 in overtime by a score of 33-26 at the hands of Tom Brady and those Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buffalo Bills are now on the outside looking in of the playoffs with a record of 7-6, a record I did not expect to utter those words that the Bills would be 7-6 at this point in the season. When the Bills schedule came out prior to the season even starting, I looked at that schedule, I looked at the Bills roster, and I said, I think 12 wins, 13 wins, 14 wins. I think that was the likely win total that I had for this Buffalo Bills team. And now I'm sitting here and I'm saying 7-6. So I was posting during the game quite often, as I like to do on Facebook, as I like to do on Twitter. I tweeted some stuff out on my Twitter handle at Ryan Thomas Take. You guys can see it on the scroll at the bottom of the screen there on my social media. So feel free to follow me on there as well as on Instagram. Fire away some comments. I want to hear from you, the fans, during this show. That you guys, I know you guys enjoy me hopping on here and giving my reaction to these games. I had a lot of people messaging me on my drive home, texting me saying, hop on the show. Let me know what you think of this game. I want to hear your thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts, most of which, I think people will agree with me. And of course, I think some people will disagree with me. I say that every single week. I don't hop on here to have every single person agree with me. If I did, it'd be pretty silly. I think that's safe to say, right? It'd be pretty silly of me to hop on here and expect, people to just agree with everything I say. So let's get right to it. Let's get right to the game as far as this 33-26 loss. Look, what are the quote-unquote Ryan Thomas takeaways on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast for this Buffalo Bills 33-26 loss at the hands of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? And football is a tale of two halves. Every single game is a tale of two halves. First half is one half, second half is another. We know that. But in this game was literally a tale of two halves. It was too little too late for the Buffalo Bills in a 24-3 deficit. That's the first thing that I'm going to talk about on the show tonight is the fact that the Buffalo Bills were completely outplayed, allowing over 300 yards of offense in the first half. This Buffalo Bills defense that is typically a solid unit all around as far as yards allowed, allowed a lot of yards to Tom Brady and this Tampa Bay Bucs defense. Didn't know where the ball was going. That you saw all sorts of just complete and total disorganization of the defense, I should say. Pre-snap, they didn't know where the ball was going. They notioned to one another. They looked to one another. The defensive line trying to turn around and communicate with the linebackers. The linebackers turning around, trying to communicate with the secondary. There was a ton of just, I want to say, confusion on the defensive side of the ball today. And we've seen it in previous weeks. We've seen it in the game against the Patriots. We've seen it in the game against the Colts, but this took the cake for me as far as what the defense showed in this game, especially in the first half en route to Tampa Bay's crazy first half pace. 24 points, 3 points for us. This offense had a ton of missed opportunities in this game. It's a story of last week. It's the story of this week. A ton of missed opportunities in this game. And those missed opportunities, case in point, the one that really stands out to me, were actually led by Sean McDermott and decision-making that allowed us to have these opportunities go for nothing. And it's a situation of down and distance. It's 4th and 3. We're down 24-10 at that time. And the Buffalo Bills decide to go for it. And then they pull the offense off the field and they decide to punt it. I was irate. I was frustrated. I couldn't stop talking about it during the game, watching it at my dad's. And my dad's talking to me saying, well, hey, they punted off, and Tampa Bay only got 3 points out of it. Well, that was, to me, a moment where Buffalo could have went for it. They get it. It gives Tom Brady less time to move the football down the field. It gives the Bills that sense of a slap on the rear end that, hey, good job, buddy, you did it, you made it happen. This offense needed to get that moment in this game where they could make that energy boost happen and have that morale boost happen with a conversion on fourth down. Despite the deficiencies that this offense has shown, that Brian Daboll has shown within this offense, I should say, I have a high chance, I think, a higher chance of getting 3 yards on this offense than just about any in the league. I was very confused by McDermott's choice to ultimately miss these opportunities while being down, while being behind in this game to make up ground in a game that was obviously getting away from them. Ultimately, what took place was a second half effort led by Josh Allen that I can go on to say that half of football was Allen's best moment this season as the Bills quarterback. That half of football of Josh Allen against this Tampa Bay Bucs Super Bowl team was something special. And it made me think of a point that I want to hammer home on the show tonight. And it's the point that first half, you're wondering if the offense that Daboll is calling, is that an offense that Allen is just checking out of and saying in the second half, I'm going to call my plays, I'm going to do my due diligence and audible out of these plays? Because going back to the start of the season, Josh Allen spoke to the media and said, if there is a play now that I don't like, I feel comfortable saying I'm going to check out of it, I'm going to audible, I'm going to flip it, I'm going to do what I need to do. We've seen Allen do that a lot these past few weeks. So I think we're starting to see when the Bills are unsuccessful on the offensive side of the ball, it's largely due to the ineffective play calling of their offensive coordinator, Brian Daboll, as well as the mismanagement of the talent that we do have on this team, as well as a lack of situational awareness. And the situational awareness that Josh Allen played with in this second half leads me to believe that, yeah, maybe it's not quite Allen versus Daboll, but it is in the sense that first half, Daboll's calling the offense. Second half, Allen's checking out. Allen's moving people around. Allen is making the adjustments on the line that is leading our offense to success. And yes, it is becoming an Allen versus Daboll. What would you guys rather have? I ask you guys that are tuning into this show, the guys and gals that are tuning into this show, would you rather have an unsuccessful play called offense by an offensive coordinator or a successful offense directed by the man under center in Josh Allen? I said prior to this game this morning on the 24/7 Buffalo show that I wanted to see Allen's best Peyton Manning impersonation tonight. I wanted to see Josh Allen go up against Tom Brady in terms of approaching the line of scrimmage, reading the defense, moving people around, finding the open receiver. In the second half, boy, Josh Allen looked very, very good, very much looked like the leader that I know he can be and the leader that you believe he can be. And I think that Josh Allen has to take more ownership of this offense. Josh Allen has to do more of that. That's what I hope to see in the coming weeks. Less of Daboll, more of Allen in terms of calling this offense. The missed opportunities that I want to go back to, not just the lack of McDermott risk, the McDermott conservative style that McDermott coaches with these last few weeks. It is more of our own players not recognizing as well the situation that we're in and focusing on things that simply don't matter. In this game, we will have fans debate with me, fans debate with each other, whether the Bills lost this game due to bad calls. I'm going to talk about that towards the tail end of the show. But I'm looking at missed opportunities that were inflicted by ourselves. And there's a moment in the game where Josh Allen drops back. He throws a pass to Stephon Diggs. And Diggs was interfered with. No question. Diggs was interfered with. But what's worse than Diggs being interfered with and the refs not calling it is Diggs giving up on the route, not finishing the route, and losing track of the football that was thrown his way due to hoping that a flag was called. You can never do that in this league. You can never do that in the 2021 version of the NFL that is softer than Charmin TP. You can't do it. And Stephon Diggs is far too elite. He's been around for far too long. He's paid a good amount of money to not make those mistakes, to not shoot his team in the foot. And that was a moment in the game that was so crucial for the Buffalo Bills to make that next step in this game, to close the gap, to bridge the gap, however you want to put it, to make something out of nothing. And Stephon Diggs really hurt us in that moment. And that's a missed opportunity that I think we can point to and say, missed opportunity. And it's important that I highlight the missed opportunities that the Bills had in this game, because when it comes down to it, those opportunities that are missed are why we're losing these games. Those are the opportunities that good teams don't miss. Those are the opportunities that good teams, they don't blink. They just do. They don't second guess. They just do. And far too many times this season, the Bills have just second guessed those opportunities, and they've missed those opportunities. And this is something that I want to address on the show as best as I possibly can for the viewers and the listeners that'll be tuning in as well on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts once this podcast is recorded. Now, here's another talking point that I want to provide the viewers and listeners of the show tonight. I've been very hard on one particular player this year, and I think that it has forced me, quote unquote, to see red a little bit. See red. And that player, of course, has been Tremaine Edmunds. We are seeing serious regression from Tremaine Edmunds over the course of this season. I understand as well as anyone, the skill set of Tremaine Edmunds is rare. He's young, he's big, he's strong, 6'5", 245 pounds. He can run a 4.4 40. Tremaine Edmunds was my number one rated linebacker in the 2018 NFL draft, ahead of Raquan Smith. The Virginia Tech product is very athletic. He's very impressive. But given the role that Leslie Frazier has put Tremaine Edmunds in, given the role that Sean McDermott has put Tremaine Edmunds in, we are starting to see year after year that role increase, that role become more pivotal to this defense. And Tremaine Edmunds lined up as a middle linebacker on this defense, I would say is the Josh Allen role. As the middle linebacker always is, the middle linebacker is the quarterback of the defense. But when things go wrong, it's up to Tremaine Edmunds, as it is on the defensive side, as it is on the offensive side of the ball from Allen, to prop up those around him. It's not Jordan Poyer's job. It's not Micah Hyde's job. The middle linebacker position is that job. The greats at that position, Brian Urlacher, Ray Lewis, I think a guy that most definitely belongs in the Hall of Fame, London Fletcher. That's what they did. One of my personal favorites, Sam Mills. That's what they did. They rallied the guys around them. When the chips were down, those teammates on that defensive side of the ball knew that the middle linebacker on that team, those names that I mentioned, were going to rally around him. They were going to, that player was going to rally the troops, was going to get everybody on the same page. And Tremaine Edmunds has looked flat out lost week in, week out, snap after snap via run stuffing or pass coverage. And I'm not going to point to just the last play of the game. The last play of the game, Brashad Perriman coming over the middle side of the field from the left hash to the right hash, through the left hash to the middle of the field to the right of the field. All Tom Brady had to do was look left and then look right quick, freeze Tremaine Edmunds, and Perriman's wide open. But it wasn't necessarily Edmunds' job to cover that wide receiver. At least it shouldn't have been, but that's not the one play I'm talking about. It's the play such as, who did we play last week? Damian Harris. It's the plays like that with Damian Harris against the Patriots. 71-yard run. Harris has the ball. He looks up. Tremaine Edmunds is right there. But rather than Edmunds following the ball as the middle linebacker, he's following the blocker, which is a Pop Warner lesson. that I learned at 7 or 8 years old. I remember my dad saying, hey, follow the football. Have a nose for the football. Don't worry about the blockers. That's what the defensive line's job is to worry about the blockers. Follow the ball. Tremaine Edmunds has had a rough few days at the office, and it is glaring on a team that needs him to step up, a team that needs that immediate. His role demands it as a middle linebacker to know where everyone is around him, to know where he needs to be, and to know where everyone else needs to be. If he doesn't know where he needs to be, how is he going to know where everyone else needs to be? And it's something that I will debate with anyone. There are people out there that believe that Edmunds is great, that he's got a lot of talent. I'm not saying he doesn't have talent. I think he does have talent. I think Tremaine Edmunds, to me personally, I've seen enough of him as a middle linebacker. I'm willing to say that that doesn't mean he's not a good outside linebacker. Maybe he could play the outside, but he is definitely not a middle linebacker in this defense right now. And he's being asked to play that position, and he's mightily struggling within that position tonight. You have the Tampa Bay Bucs, first touchdown of the game. Who is there in front of Leonard Fournette to bring down Leonard Fournette? Tremaine Edmunds. Tremaine Edmunds, the one guy on that Bills defense that could easily bring down Rob Gronkowski. But what did Edmunds do? Again, he attacked the offensive lineman. He didn't follow the ball. I check the tape every week. I record every single game. I watch the games on 2 separate days beyond game day, and I see it each and every week. Pass coverage. The ball's thrown to the left side of the field, Edmunds is on the right side of the field. If the ball is thrown to the right side of the field, Edmunds is on the left side of the field. If there's a play action, he's biting on the play action. I would love to read a statistical breakdown. Maybe it's not Pro Football Focus oriented. I can't say I'm the biggest believers in them, but I don't think he's had a good year this year. I would say that if I were to put together a list of some of the linebackers that play snap after snap after snap, like Edmunds does in this defense, he'd probably be near the bottom of that list. You'd see Poyer and Hyde making plays left and right. And when your safeties are asked to make as many plays as Poyer and Hyde, that means the opposition is getting to that level of the field. The first level is the defensive line. The second level is the linebackers. The third level is the safeties. Linebackers and corners, you could say, are second level as well. But the third level is the safety. If your safety has 100 tackles on the year, that's not good. I mean, it's good as an individual stat for that player that shows that they can tackle, but that's not good in the sense that means your offense is getting to that safety. And that is Edmunds' job, to make those plays, to make those tackles, and to know where he needs to be. Serious regression. I ask you guys, in this defense, do you think Tremaine Edmunds is the guy for now and the future to be the middle linebacker? Do you think that he is the guy? I don't. I think he's a solid athlete. I think he's a talented athlete. I think that on the outside, he has the speed that would be very fun to watch him play that limited side of the field, because I think he could close the distance easily, and it would allow him to kind of play with this downhill style that I think he can play with. But being asked to man the middle, being asked to know the assignments of every single player, it's not going to be good for him. It's something that he's struggling with, and it's something that I think I need to continue to address it, and that's what I'm doing. It wasn't all bad tonight. Wasn't all bad. You know, I have a lot of people, coming in here with, a little bit of a moral victory. I don't believe in those. I will say that it was a valiant comeback effort by the Buffalo Bills tonight. And, to go toe-to-toe with the defending champs in the second half, for Josh Allen to play the half that he did, it was truly remarkable, right? To see him playing and hobbling on one foot and trying to make the most out of any situation that he had. But at this point in the season, I truthfully did not believe I did not believe that the Buffalo Bills would be 7-6, and that I would have to think 7-6. Okay, we're 7-6. What do we need next year? We need. I don't think Edmunds is the middle linebacker. Maybe we need a middle linebacker. I think we need more offensive linemen. We need more depth. We need power on that line. We need power and agility, guys that can seal, create an alley for a running back. We need another tight end, I think. I don't know quite honestly if Dawson Knox is a TE1. It's a damn good TE2 if you get somebody that has been a TE1 in this league and have two tight ends. It would make this offense even more dynamic. It would add another blocking dimension to the offense, depending on who that player specifically is. And I'd look at, obviously who to re-sign, who to keep on the team that we already have, and who to let go. I mean, there is salary cap coming back to this team with the departures of certain particular players, Mario Addison's of the world. Jerry Hughes could be gone, and I'm not playing the offseason game yet, but what I'm saying is I didn't think I would have to at this point in the season. It just goes to show you like what a complete and total failure, disappointment of a season this has been. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I don't understand how Bills fans can have this glass half full moral victory mentality. I know they're fans and they want to see this team do well and they don't want to rip their team apart. But at the same time, this team is 7-6. This offense was one of the best offenses in the league last year, and they have mightily regressed, as has the middle linebacker that was drafted to be the middle linebacker 4 years ago. But today, the three stars of the game for me were Jordan Poyer, Dane Jackson, and Josh Allen. Those were the three stars of the day. Allen is obvious. What he did in the second half was awesome. Jordan Poyer was very good today. Very good today. He probably played his best game all year. He made some really nice tackles. He made some really nice breaks on some balls. He was in coverage. He did very well. I thought he was fantastic tonight, however you want to put it. And yes, Dane Jackson was great tonight as well. I think he did what he needed to do. Lining up on Gronk did pretty well. But I will never, ever go look at a game and say, what's my final thought? My final thought is that we lost this game because of bad calls. I'm not saying that. I will not say it. You won't hear it from me because this is a team sport. The refs are terrible. The refs are inept. The refs are mediocre. The refs are awful in this league. And the league itself is becoming awful. And the league is changing in ways that are making this game an unbalanced game. We're seeing a game that is enabling the offense to put up as many yards as they want. We're seeing a game that is allowing an offense to play like they're NBA floppers with Mike Evans, adjusting to the ball, but actually adjusting his grip and his grasp around Levi Wallace to then fall backwards. And it's oops, I got grabbed, I got held. He hugged me when really Mike Evans was hugging Levi Wallace like he was a Care Bear or a Build-A-Bear. It's pathetic, to be honest with you. I can't use any other word than that. It's pathetic because this game is about finding out which phase on which team is better. It's about an offense against a defense. Which team's offense is better, which team's defense is better. And when you take that out of the game and you allow these quarterbacks to just shatter these records, it's in large part because, these quarterbacks are great. Brady's, the Brees of the world, the Mannings, they're all solid studs. I'm not taking anything away from them. But these numbers are gaudy because this league has turned into an offensive-driven league. And it's a shame. But I won't say that this game was due to bad calls. Bad calls didn't lose us this game. Missed opportunities, again, lost us this game. Missed opportunities led us to have to rally the team around a 24-3 deficit. It's the tale of two halves. The Bills dug themselves a hole and ran out of time to get out of it. They needed more time to get out of it. If anything, Tampa Bay dug themselves into a hole in the process of the Bills digging themselves out of a hole, only for both teams to fall in the hole themselves and Tampa Bay to scratch and claw their way out of it, all muddy and dirty, and Tom Brady being the zombie that he is. It's a weird analogy, but that's how I kind of see it. Bad calls didn't lose us this game. I truly feel they were awful calls. I'm not saying the calls weren't awful. I'm not saying that the NFL isn't a joke as it stands right now. The league is a joke. There's certain players that get special treatment. There's certain players that don't get hit. There's certain players that aren't allowed to get hit. Josh Allen gets hit, no flag. Stephon Diggs gets held, no flag. There are moments in this game that I've highlighted in this post-game show that just can't happen. So now we get to the questions. And this is where I greatly enjoy this show. So really, we open things up 26 minutes into the show. I'm on for 35 minutes every single post-game show. So you guys got about 8 minutes and change almost to give me your takes. Tommy DiCarlo says, Edmunds is a trash can. No pass interference on Diggs in red zone. The NFL is rigged. They want Brady versus Patriots. I don't want to say that there's validity to the NFL being rigged. I don't know about that. But I do believe that these refs are morons, they're incompetent, and they are inept. I guess that's the best way for me to put it. Edmunds, I think he's a good player. He's just playing the wrong position. He's being given a task that he is not capable of succeeding in. And that's on the coaches. That's on the coaches for not putting more around him defensively. I think that was an adjustment they weren't ready to give up on just yet. And that they're not ready to give up on just yet because they can't. It's week 14. But I damn sure hope that they bring in a linebacker that can man the middle, maybe move Edmunds to the outside and maybe go to a traditional 4-3 rather than a 4-2-5, maybe roll with a traditional 4-3, a 4-2-5, meaning 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, and 5 DBs. Maybe you go back to a traditional 4-3 and find the best DBs and put them out there. And this is why this is why Trey White's injury is so important, because it allows Dane Jackson to step up and get exposure and get playing time that he wouldn't have had this remained a 4-2-5 with Trey White, with Teron Johnson, and with Levi Wallace. So that's like the silver lining in the Trey White injury that I kind of talked about before, but I want to provide you that again because that's a part of answering this question. Tremaine Edmunds is virtually the main linebacker on this team. Matt Milano is asked to do a lot of different things, whether it's blitzing through the offensive line as he has, whether it's pass coverage against a tight end, and Edmunds is asked to man the middle, and it's just not his skill set in this league as it stands right now. That doesn't mean he can't find his rhythm at some point down the road, but I can't stand it. I've done all I can in terms of weathering that storm of watching Edmunds as our middle linebacker. Can't excuse the play of the first half, but the refs really did a number on us. 2 missed PIs, and then the PI called on Jackson and OT. Come on. That was the worst one, I think, outside of Wallace and Evans. I mean, Mike Evans should win an Academy Award for that flop. And he knew. I mean, these guys know what they're doing. If this was 2021 with Terrell Owens in the league, he'd be flagged on every play. He'd draw a flag on. It's insane. It really is, and I don't want to sound like an old-timer, but sometimes I do miss the old days a lot. More times than sometimes. Sports Hub, look, I know we shot ourselves in the foot, but come on, the refs are terrible. The refs are terrible, but we lost. We lost. There's people, saying, oh, that would have resulted in 7 points or X amount of points. We don't know that. We don't know that. And Doug mentions the point that I haven't discussed yet. Josh Allen was in a walking boot after the game. I have not heard that because I hopped right on as soon as I got home. But Josh Allen's out. It's Mitchell Trubisky time, and I I don't think there's any reason to be excited about that. After watching Allen in that second half of the game, we understand fully that he is a difference maker to this team. So there you go. Eric Williamson says, do you think McDermott would ever consider parting ways with Dable at season's end? He seems to be a loyalist to his guys. Eric, I put it in this form and fashion. I think if the Bills miss the playoffs, Brian Dable's a goner. If the Bills miss the playoffs or make the playoffs, I think Leslie Frazier is definitely a goner. I see Leslie Frazier as somebody that could potentially become a head coach again in this league. He's high on a lot of teams' lists. Whether that comes to fruition or not, only time will tell, but that's just from what I've heard from very valid sources inside the league. And I think that Leslie Frazier is somebody that, he, despite the situation of the defense and the team, there have been weeks where this defense really has shown up. I mean, we're talking about a opportunistic defense tonight in moments where the Bills had to rally back, and they were allowed to rally back because the defense gave them the opportunity to. We have to acknowledge that, I think, tonight too. And Leslie Frazier made some really nice adjustments. He forced Brady to throw off his back foot a few times, far more than what Brady wanted to. I guarantee you that. And I think that Leslie Frazier is the type of coach that players really enjoy playing for. So I think Leslie Frazier's gone. I don't see him coming back. If a team sees fit that he is a fit for them as their head coach, I think Leslie Frazier deserves an opportunity to be a head coach in this league again than Dable deserves one opportunity to be a head coach or an offensive coordinator again. I've been done with Dable for years. The only guy that was raising his hand and saying, despite the record-breaking passing offense that the Bills had last year, that Dable was just not the guy, not my guy, one-dimensional, can't establish a run game, never has been able to establish a run game, whether it be in the collegiate level or the professional level at the NFL. There's a reason for that. There is a deficiency there in how he's able to set up a run game. What play calls is he calling? And I'll go back to a moment in the first quarter, where we're in the red zone and you got 3 wide receivers to the left. You got 1 wide receiver to the right. You guys can guess which wide receiver was to the right or which wide receiver should be to the right. I'll tell you the wide receiver that wasn't to the right. It wasn't Diggs. It wasn't Davis. It wasn't Knox. Tight end receiver flanked out to the right wasn't Knox. It was 5'8", 180 pounds soaking wet Cole Beasley, flanked out to the right, one-on-one, and asked to run to the corner of the end zone. You guys tell me if that is sensible as an offensive play caller in this football league, in the National Football League, to put your smallest receiver on his own on the right side of the field to run to the corner of the end zone. I think a 5-year-old that plays Madden would tell you not to put Beasley on his own to run to the corner of the end zone. It's just not a sensible thought to process in one's brain, let alone somebody that has built a career off of these decisions and has bounced around from the Patriots to the Browns to the Bills to the Crimson Tide. I know Brian Dable's a local guy, and a lot of his interest in coaching here fell into that, and I respect that, but he is just not the right fit for this team. I think he is absolutely forced this offense into a regression. I think he's taken a lot of things away from Allen, despite Allen's success running his offense. I think this offense could be far better than what it's shown these last few weeks. So hopefully that answers your question, Eric. I think Leslie Frazier is probably going to be gone, and I think Dable will be gone as well at the season's end. I think McDermott realizes that there were a lot of missed opportunities in this one, meaning the season, not just this game, and that the team is far better than what they played. They're far better than their record. They are their record. Make no mistake about it. They are their record, but they are better than that. This quarterback proved tonight against the defending Super Bowl champs that he is special. It's not that he's good. It's not that he's great. It's that he's special. There are not many quarterbacks in the league that could have done what Josh Allen did in that half of football against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I can count maybe on half a hand the amount of quarterbacks that could do what Allen did, and Brady's one of them. and he's not doing it against his defense. He's doing it against his defense in practice. It's Brady, it's Mahomes, it's Rodgers, it's Allen. Those are the guys that could do what Allen did. And I think that's how I see that question. Hopefully I answered it for you. I think I did, but hopefully I answered it for you. David Reed says, Bills seem to have no sense of urgency till it's too late. Late year, they always come out guns blazing. Well, I mean, to me, that sense of urgency, Dave, and I'm glad your son's doing better. Shout out to him. He's had a lot of thoughts and prayers go his way from Bills Mafia. That kid's a hero of a lot of people, myself included. So the fact that we have moments in this season where we do have that sense of urgency, it's that too little too late. And it's that whole Allen versus Dable thing. Is it, and this is just speculation, is it Allen allowing himself to run the offense, trusting himself to run the offense and saying, Dable, no, I'm running this offense this half. You ran it the first half. Look where that got us, 24-3. And I'm speculating here, but you hear it, you see it, you hear flip, you hear hot route, you hear motion, you hear this is where we need to go, pointing at, we see the adjustments. You can't really hear them word for word, but you see the adjustments on the field from the first half to the second half. Those second half adjustments that I think Allen's leading the charge on. And you're welcome, David. I'm glad he's doing well. I've followed his journey, and he's a real inspiration. So thank you for tuning in. I always appreciate chatting with you. And it was cool to see, that your son's doing better. I thoughts and prayers go out to him. He's a tough cookie, that's for sure. He's one tough cookie, that's for sure. And probably gets it from you, right? Father like son doesn't fall far from the tree, right? So I really appreciate you tuning in, and God bless for sure. Measly Beasley gets thrown around like a rag doll with bigger corners or safeties than him. And why would you put Beasley one-on-one? Why would you put Beasley one-on-one when you could put him in the slot? He's a slot receiver. He's made a living as a slot receiver. I just don't get it. I don't get it. It is what it is. Get some breaking news that Allen is not quite sure what the injury is. But we'll see what happens there. I'm sure we'll have an announcement at some rate as far as what the injury is. I am just so over the moon with the facts of this game. The facts of this game being the missed opportunities, the bad calls. Yeah, they were a factor. They were a moment in this game that led it to where it needed to go. But I truly feel that this is a team that really has really missed out on a lot of opportunities just all season long. And I'm hoping that they make the playoffs. As it stands right now, if you were to ask me if the Bills will miss the playoffs, I don't think they're going to make it, guys. As it stands right now, I don't feel good about it. And I can't believe I'm saying that. I really can't. But it is what it is. What about Diggs? Anything on him? I'll answer Eric's question next. Kevin says, what about Diggs? Anything on him? I know he was dinged up. I don't know where. I feel like it was a rib injury, but I could be wrong on that. And that's just from my observation. But we'll see. Eric Williamson, Buffalo was 5-1 in one-score games in 2020 and 0-5 this season. What's the difference? The play calling, the adjustments that these teams made over the course of a season to prevent the Bills from running the same style of offense that they did years prior. So that's how I see that. If what Josh Allen did today doesn't change the haters' opinion of him, I don't know what will. I'm not a hater. I've always been a believer in Josh Allen. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's the MVP of a 7-6 team. If he was not out on that field for the game tonight, it would have got ugly, and it would have got ugly fast. The fact that you had Allen wearing that Bills uni against Tampa Bay in tonight's action, that's what led that comeback effort. And it takes a team to do it, but Allen most definitely walked into that huddle walked underneath the tunnel, I should say, in halftime, and he looked very down after that 24-10 start and led that comeback effort. It was encouraging. It was fun to watch, but ultimately it ended in a loss, and that's how I see it. It's very tough for me to find a silver lining within a loss, but the silver lining is that we have a damn good quarterback, and I couldn't say that for a long, long time. I'd go on to say that this was one of Allen's best games of his career. One of the best halves of his career. Maybe not best game, because a game is full 4 quarters, but it was one of the best halves of his career, that second half against the Bucs. And I truly hope that he is all right. I think the Bills' playoff chances rest solely on his shoulders. So let's hope for the best for Josh Allen. And I'll be seeing you guys next week when I preview and predict Bills' battle with the Carolina Panthers back at home as the Bills go to 7-6. Carolina Panthers, they've had a abysmal season. Christian McCaffrey's out. Chuba Hubbard running the rock there in Carolina. They've had quarterback problems with Sam Darnold, Cam Newton, P.J. Walker. That's a game that the Bills should bounce back and win. But if you have Mitch Trubisky out there, it definitely changes things. I think Mitch is one of the better backups in the league. He's started a lot of games. He's young. He's mobile. He's somebody that does have a similar skill set to Allen, but he's definitely not as good. But he's somebody that I think, is really ready for the opportunity if he is given it. So we'll see what happens. I'm Ryan Thomas. That was the Thomas Take Sports Podcast, Buffalo Bills post-game show. The Bills lose to the Tampa Bay Bucs in overtime, 33-26, and fall to 7-6 on the season. The outside looking in chances at a playoff berth. Hopefully we have something good to talk about next week. It's been a rough few weeks for a Buffalo Bills fan, and I hope it gets better soon. I'm Ryan Thomas. Take care. Go Bills.